Hey guys, welcome to my YouTube channel, or welcome back if you've been here before. My name's Liz and this is Let's Get Lizical, where we do everything to do with cards. Today I'm introducing new Father's Day cut files in my Etsy shop, and I'm going to be showing a couple of examples of the cards. I'll do one with the sentiment with shadow layers, and I'll do one, I have a couple of different tie options, so I'll just show you a quick and simple suit card to go with that. So we'll just get started. I did a lot of prep work for today's cards just to keep this video shorter. So I already cut out the sentiments, and I did a little bit of prep work on the base of the card. So today we're going to be using the number one dad shadow layer and the number one dad sentiment. Originally I was going to do it in white on the Neenah Desert Storm, but then I decided that I would do it in the green to go with the matte layer that I'm going to be doing on here. I am going to still use the white as a backer for this, just to add a little bit more dimension. So I'll end up gluing these together before I glue it onto here. For this pattern paper, I did a video on DIY turnabout stamping, which I'll link in the end of this video. So I just decided to use up that dinosaur paper. I stamped a sentiment and heat embossed it to go underneath the number one dad, and then I also just stamped an extra dinosaur here. So we're just gonna get started on the assembly. I'll just do the card base first because it'll be easy. I cut this panel down to 2 inches wide. It's still at the 6 inches in length. I'll just trim off the bottom and top bits in a minute. I just wanted to glue it to the matte layer first, and the matte layer I cut to 2 1/8 so that there was a 1/16 inch on both sides. So I'm just gonna glue this to this mat. I won't take the glue all the way down just because I will be cutting those ends off. And I think I will center it so that I'm cutting about the same amount off on each end. Approximately. It doesn't need to be centered. You can't really tell that this is a repeat turnabout stamp pattern, so I'll just trim this before I glue it to the card. And trimming it from the back just because it makes it easier. This acts as like a guideline. And then I'm going to use the lines on my grid mat to line this up with the 1 centimeter area. And then I'm going to glue these together. And I did place, I kind of did a mock placement of this. So this is going to go up here, and then this will come down below. I've already added backing little strips to this just to even it out, and then I'll add foam tape to this after I glue this all together. These sentiments with shadow layers go together like any other like die cut you would have. You're just going to make sure you center the sentiment in the shadow layer. And just a tip, if you wanted to make this either bigger or smaller, depending on what you're working on, you can work directly on your cutting machine. If you have the Scan and Cut, I don't think the Cricuts do that, but you can scale it directly on your machine or on your software on your computer before you either export it to your machine or put it on USB or whatever you're doing. But just make sure you group the two of these together and scale them together. Otherwise you could end up with mistakes and they might not line up exactly. So I would put both of these cut files, because they are separate files, onto your board. Center them so that they do sit the way it would when you completed it. Group them together and then scale them to whatever size you need. And then just use, like, your shadow layer would obviously be your bigger layer, so I would just scale it. Say if I want, I think this one right now is at 3. This one measures about 2.5 inches wide. So if you want to blow it up to 3, then you would blow it up to 3, and then this would also scale accordingly. But you just want to make sure that you group them together and do that. It'll just save you a bunch of trouble. I'm just going to pop this up using some Big Mama foam tape. I always cut like bigger strips and then I'll like dissect it the way I need to after, which is why I have these little pieces. I just save every little piece and I'll stick them to the side of my tape when I'm done with it, just to use for the next project. And again, I've mentioned this in videos before, get yourself a good pair of titanium non-stick scissors. These ones are from Amazon, I'll link them below, but they're great, nothing sticks to them when you're cutting any of your adhesives. And this is the picker tool I got from Dollar Tree that I showed in my last haul. It actually comes in really handy for picking at tape because I find that I struggle with this tape sometimes. So yeah, that's it for this card for today. It's very quick and simple to put together these die cut sentiments and shadow layers. And this is just how I decided to use this one. So for the next card, we're going to be making some suit cards. These are examples that I did previously, and I'm going to change up these measurements a little bit because I think the lapel comes out too far, and I think I cut these panels a little too wide, and the blue one's even wider than the black one. But I'll give you the dimensions for this panel, where to score it and everything, but instead of the like standard tie, we're going to be doing a bow tie instead, which I've already cut the pieces for. I think I'll just end up coloring it with my alcohol markers because I wasn't sure what color I wanted to do, if I wanted to do an all black suit or with a black tie, or if I wanted maybe just to change up the tie color. These buttons are a part of a die set that I have, and I just put some glossy accents on them. The pocket welt I probably won't add to the card today. I also added glossy accents to add a bit to it, but I just cut like a 3/8 by 1 inch rectangle and then just plopped it on the card just to mimic like a pocket welt. And then for the ties, it comes in 2 layers, so you get the full tie and then you get the knot portion that I have propped up on some foam tape just to give it a little bit more dimension. And then for the sentiments were done with, I believe, Lawn Fawn's Happy 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 stamp set. So again, like I might skip this portion for today and just show you how to do the suit. But if you have any stamp sets that say Happy Father's Day or something similar, you can just use that and then put it on the suit. Or if you want, you can just leave it blank and then put your sentiment on the inside, which may be what I do with this other one. So we'll just get started. So you're gonna start with a white card base. This is the tie portion. I still have not decided what color I'm gonna do, so I'm gonna leave that there for now. I'm gonna cut another panel just to leave this card mat because I do like the white border even on these types of cards. So we'll cut a card mat down to 4 by 5 1/4. And then we'll cut out the panels and start scoring. Okay, so for my white cardstock, I'm using the Hammermill 110 pound cardstock in the 100 brightness. And then for the black, I'm just using 65 pound Michael's Recollections, which is what I like to use for my layering. It just keeps your card lightweight, and it works fine for me. It's cheap, easy to pick up at Michael's. So I'm just gonna cut this down to, I'll cut it down to 5 1/2, just so I can use that half as a card base, because I also use these as my card bases. And then I'm going to cut it down to 4 1/4, and I can use that for a different card. And then I'll cut it down from there. 4 by 5 1/4. Okay, and And that's your matte layer. And then next we're gonna cut this down to, I'll do the same thing for this one. I'm gonna cut it down to 5.5 first. And then I'm actually gonna cut it down to 5.25. And then I'm going to cut the panels to 2.25 inch wide. And then when they're together, they'll overlap a little bit. I just find that on my other ones, I just cut these to 2.5 inch wide each, and there's just like so much overlap, like from here to here. So I decided to narrow that down for this card for today, and we'll see how that works. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to make some pencil marks. I'll just do this on my scoreboard. So I'm gonna go 1 inch in and then 3 inches down. And then I'm gonna score along that line, which is here. And I'm just gonna use this one just because I drew a black line, so it's easier for me to line that up. I'm just gonna use my stylus to score it. Okay, and then you want to do that with the other panel as well. You want to do 1 by 3 and score it. But because you want them to be opposite, you want to score like fold 1 in, and then one of them you'll fold the opposite direction, so that you have this V, which is hard to see on the black. So then you have your like suit, which I think this is much better actually, which is great. So I'm just gonna use my bone folder to reinforce those. And then I'm probably gonna prop these up. I usually put like a little tiny piece of foam tape in there just to leave a little bit of dimension. You could leave it loose if you wanted to. I'm always just worried that like they're gonna get caught if the recipient's taking them in and out of the envelope. So I like to glue things down as much as possible. And then for this, I would make sure you line up with the top edge, just because it'll be easier to cut off the bottom edge if it's not 100%. I can see there's a little bit of white here, so I'll probably end up trimming this just a tiny bit. I think for the bow tie, I'll do it in blue. So this is like your shadow layer, this big portion here where it has like the full bow shape. And then I'm gonna fix the cut file before this video is uploaded, but I will put a connector between these two pieces, so it'll be 1 backing piece, 1 top piece, and then 1 middle knot piece, instead of these two sides separated. So I'm gonna add a bit of like a navy color to the top of this just for the shadow, because this part will be shown. I'm just going to make sure all these edges are covered. normally I just adhere the second layer on directly, and then I'll prop this middle portion up on some foam tape, but I think today we'll do a little extra dimension and prop up all of the layers. Okay, and then this layer lines up with the bottom of the bow. And I think that just so that this does look like a shirt underneath instead of just like a blank area, I'm just gonna draw a pencil line that lines up here and then here. I'm just kind of like lining them up with the edges of the jacket. And it just adds a little bit of extra detail. I'm just gonna. And then I put the bow right at the top. And if you don't have a button die, you could always cut just little circles, because they could be like covered buttons. You don't necessarily need to have these holes in here. I filled these with glossy accents, but you could use regular buttons that you might have in your sewing stash. You could just cut plain circles, whatever works. You could leave it plain if you want. I do like the buttons because the buttons do add a little bit of something to it. So I probably will add those now. Okay, so I cut these buttons with a die I recently got on Temu, which was on my last crafty haul. But it comes with these 6 different buttons on them. So I'll just put a couple of those. Sometimes I'll double them up just for a little bit more dimension. I might or might not do that today. And then when you're putting your buttons on, I would just make sure that you are lining up your buttons as well as the holes on the buttons. So you don't want one button to have them in a square pattern and the other ones are like in a diamond where there's one at the top, 2 at the sides, 1 at the bottom. Just put them in the same orientation. And I think I will cut one more layer of those. So I think I'll leave the card there for today. I'm not going to put Happy Father's Day or anything on it at the moment, but I will add it eventually at some point, either inside the card or not. If you wanted to, you could add a 3rd button to the shirt. Just add a bit more texture in here. You could also, if you wanted to, add this middle layer as a panel just to give this a bit of dimension. I would just cut like a 1/2 inch strip and just put it down the center of the card, just to give it, again, that little bit of a dimension, and then maybe stick 1 button here. It would look great. But these are the 2 different ties that you can do. And again, I think I like this orientation a bit better than this one. This one's a bit too chunky for me. So those are our cards for today. Thanks again for joining me. Like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you don't miss any other videos. And I'll see you again next week for another product that I have also out for Father's Day. That's actually like super fun cut file that I'm very excited to make a card for. So see you guys next week. Bye!